Laura and I visited Hassan's workshop, where he helped her make a Damascus blade for her Leatherman. While we were there, I decided to have some fun of my own and try out this whole Damascus thing. Or actually, it's pattern welded steel, but I'm just gonna call it Damascus. I didn't have time to forge my own billet, but Hassan was kind enough to give me a piece of twisted Damascus he had already made. So I set myself the goal of making new blades for my thread snips. I drilled out the rivets and disassembled the snips, so I could get a good look at the size and shape of the blades. I also sanded the paint off the handles, so that it's ready for a complete makeover. I welded a bar onto the Damascus, so I would be able to handle it more easily. Then it went into the forge to heat up. I had a go at forging the billet flat by hand, but my hammer strikes had pretty much no effect on this tough material. So I took it up a notch and flattened the material out on Hassan's power hammer. This thing is not only beautiful, it also packs quite a punch. What a difference to striking by hand. It was a great exercise in controlling both the hammer and the material, since I wanted to make it fairly flat and nice and thin. It took some time, but I got there in the end. I traced the shape of the blade onto the material and used an angle grinder to cut it to rough shape. Then I acquainted myself with Hassan's belt grinder, and we became good friends after spending quite some time together grinding the blades to their final shape. The small pieces of metal heated up very quickly, so I continually dunked them in a water bucket to cool off. Drilling the holes for the rivets was pretty challenging due to the hardness of the material. I had to take it really slow, and some drill bits were sacrificed to the Damascus gods, but I got it done. I heated the blades up with a torch and dunked them into the bucket to quickly cool them down. This hardens the material, but leaves it brittle. At this point you're supposed to temper the material by slowly heating it up and letting it cool down. But this process takes several hours and I didn't have the time. So I opted to skip this step. That isn't great for the end result, but these thread snips will not be exposed to a lot of force, so I decided it was worth it to allow myself to experience the rest of the process. I hung the blades in an acid bath to etch the surface. This reveals the alternating layers of different steels that give it the Damascus look, since the steels react differently to the acid. Then they went into some very strong coffee, which increased the color contrast even further. Back at Laura's, I painted the handles black with some spray paint. While that dried, I gave the blades their final sharpening. I turned some brass nails into rivets by cutting their ends off. Unfortunately, they were not brass on the inside, so they turned silver with the deformation of hammering them in. At this point, I thought I was done, but boy was I wrong. While the mechanism of these snips is fairly simple, it's just two blades sliding along each other with a spring, the alignment of it all turned out to be very important. All my hammering and such had messed it up, so I spent quite some time carefully making adjustments while trying not to damage the blades or the paint job. I failed miserably at that, so once I got the alignment to a sort of satisfactory level, I busted out the sandpaper and an acrylic marker to do some touch-ups. In the end, these thread snips are far from perfect. One blade is not completely flat, the alignment is still off, the paint job is messy and the blades aren't tempered. But I made them. And I learned a whole lot in the process. So while these will not replace my regular thread snips, they are a great reminder of the lessons I learned and a challenge to try again at some point to see if I can do better. Plus, I had a lot of fun making them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.